In response to the substantial number of mass shootings in the United States over the past several decades, a proposed solution is offered to reduce the frequency of these events. The solution is a middle ground approach relative to the more extreme views on the subject from people who are pro-Second Amendment as well as those that are pro-gun control. The proposal consists of basically applying the current set of machine gun control regulations on semi-automatic weapons. Handguns are excluded from this proposed regulatory approach. Why are handguns excluded? While a background check would still be required for obtaining a handgun, there are two reasons for this exclusion. First, people need a way to still obtain a gun easily enough to counter others that obtain guns illegally. Second, because of significantly reduced firepower, handguns do not have the same potential capability of inflicting mass casualties as other semi-automatic weapons. As an example, it would be significantly harder to conduct a mass shooting with a handgun versus an AR-15. In addition to handguns, weapons utilizing lever action, pump action, and bolt action are proposed for exclusion. In this next section, I'll talk about the automatic weapon regulations that already exist, which will be applied to all semi-automatic weapons except handguns. Step 1. Obtain a Class 3 SOT, Special Occupational Taxpayer, which allows the purchase and sale of NFA items, National Firearms Act, but not import or manufacture them, by obtaining one of the compatible FFLs, Federal Firearm License. There are three different types of FFLs. You have Type 1, Dealer in Firearms Other Than Destructive Devices, Type 2, Pawnbroker in Firearms Other Than Destructive Devices, and Type 9, Dealer in Destructive Devices. In order to obtain an FFL, you must meet these requirements. Be a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident, be 21 years old or older, do not meet the ATF's definition of a prohibited person, which means you must not be a convict, fugitive from justice, left the armed forces with a dishonorable discharge, illegal alien, convicted of domestic violence, committed to a mental institution, and never violated the GCA, Gun Control Act. Have premises for your business. Ensure local or state laws do not prohibit you from conducting firearm business at the given address due to zoning restrictions, and have a business intent, as it would be illegal to use an FFL for personal use. If all the requirements are met, the ATF, which is the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives Agency, Form 7 may be submitted. Form 7 is for any person or entity that intend to engage in business as a firearms ammunition importer or manufacturer, or as a firearms dealer in interstate or foreign commerce, as well as individuals who wish to engage in curio, which is an object and relic collecting activity. Form 7 processing fee is $150. In addition, any required supplemental records, such as a passport photo and fingerprint cards, may be submitted with Form 7. A background check will be conducted on applicants and all associated individuals with your business. Form 7 applicants will be interviewed by the ATF IOI, Industry Operations Investigator, who will review your application, verify that all your information is correct, and ensure you and your business are compliant with all relevant laws. If IOI determines that all requirements are met and the extensive background check does not return disqualifying factors, the ATF completes your application and you'll receive your license within 60 days. And then we move on to step 2, becoming a special occupational taxpayer, which happens after Form 7 is approved. And then some miscellaneous information to go with that. The yearly special occupational tax stamp varies depending on your business's annual gross receipts. If you make less than $500,000 a year, then the SOT tax is $500. If you make $500,000 or more, your SOT tax is $1,000. SOT registration expires on June 31st of each year, regardless of the time of application. Once approved, you'll be registered as an FFL holder with SOT status, allowing you and your business to deal in NFA items. You are done. One other alternative for obtaining NFA items is to establish a gun trust. A trust is a legal entity designed to hold property and assets for other individuals. A gun trust is a revocable trust designed to hold firearms, making the trust the legal firearm owner. The primary advantage of a trust is the possibility to add multiple designated people, the trustees, to the document, allowing them to use these firearms legally, as long as both the firearms and the trustees are registered in the gun trust document. While a gun trust can be used to hold NFA items as well as Title I items, non-NFA firearms, it is subject to the same legal restrictions as private individuals owning such items. It does not confer the right to engage in the business of dealing, manufacturing, or importing firearms and ammunition. For more information on gun trusts, consult a lawyer who specializes in firearm law. So now we get to the intended result of the application of these regulations. Mass shooters are not the brightest individuals. It is very doubtful that a mass shooter will be able to navigate through that level of bureaucracy without raising any red flags in the process, even if their record is squeaky clean. The more barriers in place, the less of a chance the shooter will be able to figure out how to inflict mass casualties. Imagine if the Las Vegas shooter had to go through that level of bureaucracy in order to pull off his mass shooting. Could you imagine the Stoneman Douglas shooter, the Tops Buffalo shooter, the Uvalde shooter, or the Illinois Parade shooter, to name a few, experiencing that level of patience and mental aptitude to get through a process like that? Of course not. They would show obvious signs of distress to an IOI investigator, and on top of that, they would not meet the 21-year-old minimum age requirement. The Las Vegas shooter would obviously be old enough, but I sincerely doubt he would have the level of patience to navigate that level of bureaucracy to pull off a mass shooting. Also, many of these shooters are young, which would give their frontal lobe a chance to develop more with the minimum age requirement. The frontal lobe, or prefrontal cortex, does not finish developing until 25 years old on average, and the frontal lobe is responsible for important complex behavioral performance and accomplishing executive brain functions. The longer a potential mass shooter has to wait to obtain a powerful weapon, the better chance they have of changing their mind about committing a mass shooting.